Good evening, everyone. This is very exciting. Thank you so much for joining us to what would surely be one of the best meetups that the Garage Geeks has ever had. We're going to start with a few words from the people of Tel Aviv University that are hosting us today. So I would like to invite first Professor Itamar Rabinovich, the chairman of the Dan David Foundation, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. I'd like first to say a few words about the Dan David Prize. I believe that most of you are here for the first time in an event of the prize. The Dan David Prize was began about 15 years ago by the late Dan David, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a visionary. His son Ariel is here with us, who continues his father's and the family's enterprise. And the vision that Dan David had 15 years ago was a major international prize, headquartered in Israel at Tel Aviv University, but operating as an international prize that would grant every year three major prizes, $1 million each, arranged along the time axis, past, present, and future. The board of the prize, an international board, determines every year what field is going to be recognized in each of the time dimensions. In the past few years, we also began to select a major theme that runs through the three time dimensions. This year is information. In the past, it's historians and the sources. For the future, in science, it's bioinformatics. And for the present, it's the information revolution. And we were able to recognize one of the major figures in our current information revolution, Mr. Jimmy Wales, who is our guest of honor tonight. The prize, since its inception, has granted several prizes to figures in the high-tech world. We began with Danny Hillis in the first year of the prize, and Professors Minsky and Kleinrock in subsequent years. Also, I'd like to recognize and thank Mr. Yossi Vardi, my friend, and a man who needs no introduction. He's been affiliated with the prize from its inception as well, and has been very helpful, including being on the panel that selected Mr. Wales this year. I must share with you a story. In the first year, Yossi was not part of the process that selected Danny Hillis, and we were a bit anxious and nervous in the first year of the prize, so I called Yossi and very discreetly asked him what he thought of the selection of Danny Hillis, and he assured me that it was a very good selection. And shortly thereafter, he met Danny Hillis, but you know, Yossi is a man of his word. He said nothing about the prize. He just asked Danny Hillis to show him the palm of his hand, and he looked at the line and said, "I see a trip to Israel." So Yossi, thank you very much for your help in this year and years past. And finally, briefly about Jimmy Wales, the man, another person who needs no introduction. In any event, you are all cordially invited to read the Wikipedia item about him that is long and interesting and reflects he's a young man, no, not such a long career, but a very interesting one that began in Alabama, and where he was born, and went to university, continued in Chicago, where he worked for a while in futures and did well. And then gradually he moved into the realm of knowledge, a first encyclopedia, and eventually the concept of Wikipedia was born and developed. I think was almost an overnight success, and has not only offered us an online encyclopedia that is the most commonly used and the most helpful encyclopedia there is, but has revolutionized many concepts that are important to our life today. Freedom of information, access to information, equality in the sense that everybody can contribute, and a global view. And one of the challenges that Mr. Wells faced today is that he wants to make Wikipedia available also in languages that don't have such a broad literate elite that can write or contribute to the items that countries in which French, English, Spanish, and of course Hebrew is being used have. Is very much concerned with freedom of information, an issue of unfortunately growing importance in the international arena. And I'd leave the rest to the conversation that Yossi will conduct with him and to your questions to him later in the evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Mr. Shlomo Nimrodi, who is responsible for business engagements in Tel Aviv University.
Good evening, everybody. This is certainly an inspiring evening to be here, a guest of the Dan David Prize, and also to be speaking in front of the Geeks, Garage Geeks. And it's, one word that comes to mind is really inspiration. I've been responsible for the technology transfer organization at Tel Aviv University. I spent my background that I was fortunate to be part of companies that have either created new industries or changed existing industries. To name a few, Indigo Digital Printing, which today is a major player in the world arena, VizRT, Broadcast Graphics, and Raytel Cardiac Services that have changed the way patients with pacemakers and defibrillators can go on with their life without actually being hospitalized. I want to talk about a couple things. I will mention a few products that all of us should be familiar with, starting with the saccharin, insulin, the first electron microscope, the penicillin, the ultrasound, the electronic computer, polio vaccine, pacemaker, seatbelt, Gatorade, LCD screen, flash memory. Let's see if there are a couple more interesting stuff here. Mobile Eye. Everybody heard about Mobile Eye. What's the common theme behind all these products or innovations? These are all invented within academic institutions throughout history. And people may not be aware of that, but most influential products and innovation came from academic institutions. And we're sitting here today in one of them. Tel Aviv University is the largest research institution in the state of Israel, with more innovation than any other single institution around the world. In fact, I think we have here about 200 graduates, alumni of Tel Aviv University, so please, claps for them. Couple things, and not to brag too much about it, we're actually, Tel Aviv University is #1 in patent filings. In fact, it's 29 in the world. If you exclude US universities, it's number 14. We were ranked, if you look at the top 10 universities that generated startups, the only Israeli university on this list is Tel Aviv University. The only non-Israeli is India, IIT Mumbai, and all the rest are US universities. So Tel Aviv University is certainly up high there. I wanted to finish my few words, and I was kind of wrecking my head on finding some quotes that would be meaningful to the audience here. And I picked 3 actually. One was made by Albert Einstein, of course. Creativity is contagious, pass it on. And I know that this is essentially part of the mission of this initiative here. The second was written by, or was said by Theodore Levitt, who is the editor of the Harvard Business Review. And he said, creativity is thinking up new things, innovation is doing new things. And last but not least, and this is important to say, especially in facing some of today's world's challenges, was said by Margaret Mead. Margaret Mead was a famous anthropologist, and she said the following: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." So hopefully within the audience that sits here, and I know you have already to some extent, there will be more people that will change the world. Thank you very much and enjoy the evening.
Okay, so usually this is the point in the evening where we tell a little bit about the Garage Geeks. So just before we start, this is the biggest room we've ever talked to. How many of you are members of the Garage Geeks group, either on meetup.com or on Facebook? Not a lot, not enough. So to all of you who don't know what the Garage Geeks are, the Garage Geeks, can you turn on the microphone, the second one? Thank you very much. The Garage Geeks is a group that was founded almost a decade ago by a couple of, or a group of very dedicated, very bored geeks. Some of their names are Tzvika Netter and Yuval Tal and Gil Hirsch and Tal Chalozin and many of the founding members that some of them are still in Israel, some of them have already moved to the States and other countries, and they're very successful where they are. The Garage Geeks started basically because many of us were a little bit bored and we were looking for a space that will cultivate innovation and basically where we can do geeky stuff like playing video games and do crazy stuff. And very interesting projects came out of there. I won't go into the full details. There's the Garage Geeks website. You're more than welcome to take a look. But over time, and certainly much to the thanks and support of Yossi Vardi, this turned into a place where world leaders, world tech leaders, come to meet the local entrepreneur community. Today, the Garage Geeks on Facebook and on Meetup is probably the largest group of entrepreneurs and tech professionals in the country, over 10,000 people. You are more than welcome to join. Just look Garage Geeks in Facebook or in meetup.com, and also you can visit the website garagegeeks.org. You will be exposed to all the information, to the future meetups that we're going to have. This is completely voluntary. None of us get money. There is no money involved. This is completely free, and because of that, we have a lot of thanks that we need to give.
First and foremost, our sponsors, Plus Ventures. Raise your hand.
Are they here?
Yeah, one of them, at least one of them here.
Okay.
Okay. We want to thank Mrs. Madar Fisher from the Dan David Foundation.
Yes, the director of the Dan David Foundation, which without her help, this event would have never happened here.
And I think now it's Yossi's turn, right?
Yes, and before we invite Yossi to the stage, I want to ask two things. Usually these meetups happen in much less formal places. They are much more intimate, they are much more fun. Please, let's make Jimmy Wales much more pleasant. Everybody who's in the audience and wants to come down and be a little closer, these seats, the front row is completely empty. Join us in the front. Don't be afraid to get up and move. It'll be much more fun for everyone. Thank you. I see already two good guys doing it. So, without further ado, and while all of you are taking new and much, much better seats, they are for free, I would like to invite Yossi Vardi, who really needs no introduction, as Mr. Rabinovich said. Yossi Vardi, thank you.
Thank you, Doron. Thank you, Rehem, for the great work you are doing in the garage. And for this evening, I want to apologize to the hardened Garage Geek member for the shape of this hall. I know that you are not used to it, and I really apologize. But we couldn't use today our very intimate, dilapidated, poor housing. So I really apologize. Again, I want to thank Ariel David. Ariel, where are you? Ariel, can you please stand up? Ariel David The prize is being called after his late father, and he and his mother are keeping the flame, and thank you very much. And before I call Jimmy, Jimmy, it's his second appearance in the garage. He was already a few years ago when he came to the President Conference. And Jimmy is one of the rare people that single-handedly
Is this working? Yeah. Okay.
Jimmy single-handed really changed and revolutionized knowledge collection, knowledge distribution in the world. The effect that he has done on people's life is unbelievable. I don't want to go into too many personal detail, but unfortunately, a family member of me encountered a major health issue, and I spent 2 weeks on Wikipedia to really understand what's going on. And we know that today, Wikipedia drives the medical doctors crazy because anybody who is a little bit intelligent come to the doctor with Wikipedia pages and know what to ask. And and people are using Wikipedia as second opinion. And in New York, they put in the hospitals big note to our Jewish patients, please bring your second opinion first. So it's good, Mel, that you are laughing at my jokes because it seems that you are the only one. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give you Jimmy Wales. We will have a short talk of about 20 minutes. Then we will open the audience. We'll open the event for Q&A of the audience, and then Jimmy will come, and everybody who feel an urge to speak to him personally will be able to approach him, but please don't take more than 30 seconds. I explained to Jimmy that since this is a very small country, 8.2 million people, and everybody has a feeling of entitlement, so everybody feels that he has a personal right to approach Jimmy and ask him questions, so you will be able to do it, but try to do it short. Jimmy, you gave us yesterday some data points. There was yesterday a big ceremony. What is the number of Wikipedia monthly users?
So we've got today, according to ComScore, just over 500 million monthly users. But we know that ComScore's measurements are much more accurate in countries with strong advertising markets. That's their main business model. They're trying to get better at counting in some of the other countries, but they've got some ways to go. Our internal server logs suggest much higher traffic. But we're happy. 500 million is a satisfactory number.
Nice. What was early, the term Wikipedia or the term crowdsourcing as a term, as a coined term?
Definitely. I mean, somebody could look in Wikipedia to find out if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Wikipedia came first.
So Wikipedia came first, and you
certainly before Web 2.0. We were Web 2.0 before anybody ever heard that term. But yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about crowdsourcing. So I guess that you are the biggest endeavor of crowdsourcing in the world, I guess so.
Yeah, but for me, the term crowdsourcing is one that I really try to avoid and actually reject because I think it's...
Forget crowdsourcing, we never mentioned it.
But the reason is interesting because the word crowdsourcing comes from the word outsourcing, and it's the idea of outsourcing is, well, I have this work that I need to do, but I'm in a high-wage country and I can't afford to hire people to do it, so I'll find a low-wage country and outsource there. And then crowdsourcing is one step further is I'll try to get somehow trick the general public into doing it for free. And the problem, I think, for entrepreneurs who approach the problem in that way, they start with a chunk of work they want to get done, and they try to think of how to get people to do it. but that almost never works. So people have these ideas. I remember one that I really loved was for security cameras, that every time the motion detector detected something, it could flash up, and then people out in the world somewhere would look at it and determine, is this a crime or is it just
Jaywalker. It was jaywalker.
Yeah. And the problem with this is nobody wants to do that. There's no demand. People aren't saying, I wish I could watch security cameras all day and see if it's a dog or a burglar. It just doesn't happen. And so I say turn it on its head. Start with what do people want to do, and then figure out how to accommodate them and help them.
Jimmy, I have a very good question for you. Yeah. Jimmy, was what first, the term Wikipedia or the term wisdom of the crowds? How about that one?
I think wisdom of the crowds is much older term. But I have to stop you because we didn't say, so I've been in Israel now for a couple of days, and people say to me, oh, is this your first time in Israel? And of course, it's not my first time in Israel. I've been in Israel, I think maybe 10 times. But the first time I ever came to Israel, Yossi and my friend Bob Rosenshine invited me. And Yossi brought me over to give a speech at Tel Aviv University. And I really appreciate that. And so I think that Yossi maybe should apologize to Ariel David and the David family, because he forgot to tell them that if they want me to come to Israel, it's very easy. Yossi just says, Jimmy, come to Israel, and then I come. They could have saved a lot of money on the prize.
They are always happy to get it back, you know. Let's go back to Wikipedia. So how many people ever contributed to Wikipedia, if you have to estimate the general number?
I should know that number because that would be a number that we could more or less estimate, but I don't know. Millions. I don't know how many millions, yeah. But the bulk of the work is really done by the core community. There's about 80,000 people a month who edit at least 5 times. There's probably 3,000 to 5,000 who are the real core community. And obviously lots of people just come and make one small edit and this and that and the other, and that's important as well. But it's really this idea of the community as being not just a synonym for the general public, but actually people who know each other and talk to each other and plan and make editorial judgments. That's the real core of Wikipedia.
When did you create Wikipedia?
January 2001.
So it's now about 15 years.
Yeah, 14 and a half.
14
I know this, it's easy to remember. My daughter was born about, I would say about 20 days before Wikipedia. So I know how old she is. So
what made you?
Yeah. The problem is, now Wikipedia is like a teenager and they can be difficult, so.
What made you happier? Creating your daughter or creating Wikipedia?
My daughter. Yeah, she's much smarter. She's the clever one in the family, so.
Good. So looking on what you created from the distance of 14 years, I'm sure that you didn't have any idea what will come out of it.
Yeah, to some extent, of course, I didn't. The basic concept of Wikipedia, though, has been very steady throughout the years, and that's one of the things that's made it work, is that a free encyclopedia for every single person on the planet in their own language, that core mission we've never wavered from. And so I remember a long time ago, people said, you should offer free webmail accounts, or you should do this, you should do that. Lots of things we just didn't do, even though maybe there would be more web traffic or whatever, just because that sticking to that core mission made a difference. But of course, it was very hard in the early days to imagine, even now it's hard to imagine 500 million people a month. It's part of the infrastructure of the world, really. That's a phenomenal thing to contemplate, and it's even now hard to get my head around it.
How many hits you get per month?
I don't know. It's a funny thing. That's a number that we don't really track very well, and it's partly because we're not advertising supported. And so the number of page views is just a number to us. It's not really that critically important, so we don't actually pay that much attention to it. We're more interested in how many editors, how many people in general viewing the site.
What Google tell you is the number of queries per month?
I don't know. If you go to statistics.wikimedia.org, there's an enormous, tedious statistical report, which I didn't memorize before I got here. So it's all there. The Wikipedians know. This is the truth of my life. The most difficult talk I do every year, we have a conference every year called Wiki Mania, where we bring together the whole, the core Wikipedia community. And we had it just a few years ago in Haifa, but we have it in a different city every year. And I make a speech there, and it's always my most difficult speech every year because I know everyone in the audience knows more about Wikipedia than I do. So what do I tell them? I just say, you know, keep going.
Tell me, when, since I know a little bit the soul of entrepreneur, I'm sure that before you decided you do Wikipedia, at the same time you probably played with 2 or 3 or 4 alternative, what should I do with my life and what should I do on the internet?
Yeah. No, one of the things I really enjoy doing is I have a speech that I give to young entrepreneurs or to university students called Failure. Jimmy Wales is really good at it. And I go through a list of really stupid ideas that I had that didn't work out. And actually some of them are interesting because if you think about, so one of my first websites was, I was a futures and options trader, and I was working in Chicago, and you know, in tall skyscrapers and everything, and every day at lunch, we would send people out for lunch. You call an order or you fax an order to them. And I knew about the internet, and I was on the internet. I thought, well, this is silly. This is obviously going to move to the internet. So I started a business where you could order food online and have it delivered, which obviously today is an enormous business and very, very successful, in different cities. There's a lot of different ones of these. At that time, when I went out to restaurant owners and I said, oh, yes, you can, people can order food on the internet. And they were like, okay, what does that mean? Is that like a fax machine? They had no idea what I was talking about, like I was from Mars. So it failed because I couldn't sign up any restaurant owners. So that was
So you decided to go from food for the belly for food for the mind.
Exactly. So it is true. Like I'm still an entrepreneur. I try new things. Some of them work, some of them don't. I've always got new projects. So. Yeah.
Tell me, did you hear about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict?
I heard a bit. Someone asked me, a news reporter said to me, oh, but many people boycott Israel, so what do you think of this? You're here in Israel. And I said, well, I would make Aliyah, except I'm not Jewish.
We can fix it right here and there.
I'm very far from boycotting Israel. Yes, I've heard of this conflict.
No, but you heard about the conflict. How you wrestle with dealing with these conflicts, or the Turk-Armenian conflict, or at any point of time there are about 70 conflicts which goes in the world. Everybody is very passionate. And how you wrestle with it in Wikipedia?
So there's a lot of different layers, a lot of different techniques that we use. So one of the most important concepts in Wikipedia is that of neutrality, the idea that we should try to be neutral. And so I'll pick a different conflict. A conflict.
Why don't you pick a different conflict?
Because this one's particularly complicated in this area of the world. But just to give the example, though, so and this is not a geographical or people's conflict, but abortion as an issue. And so abortion as an issue, what I want you to imagine is a very kind and thoughtful Catholic priest who's very much opposed to abortion, and a very kind and thoughtful Planned Parenthood activist who has a very different view. These two people can work together on the entry about abortion, and if they're kind and thoughtful, they'll understand Wikipedia can't say abortion is a mortal sin, but it can say the Catholic Church position on abortion is thus and such, and the Pope has written this, and critics have responded that. And those two people, if they're really nice, kind, thoughtful people, at the end of the day, after they've worked really hard, and they may have some heated conversations and so forth, they can point to that and say, right, we will never agree on the issue, but if you read this, you'll understand what our debate is about. And that's kind of my vision and my goal. So you would hope that you would see in some historical conflict where people disagree about what the facts are, that we would say, okay, look, go and read this. Ariel Sharon said this, and Yasser Arafat said that, and this is the way people have responded, and these are what different evidence there is. And then you could read this and you would know what the argument is about. And that's very hard to do in many cases because people can be very emotional. Part of it has to do with having people in our community who care more about Wikipedia than they care about winning this particular argument. And so it is about genuine community, people who know each other, people who care about the project, who say, actually, maybe I'm very pro-Palestinian, or maybe I'm very pro-Israeli, but I realize actually what we're here to do is find a way to explain to people who just read some news story and all they know is what they see on television. No, let's go a little deeper. Maybe you can understand what our conflict is about. And that's, I hope, the first step towards peace, towards healing, is to actually understand.
Okay. Can you share with us a little bit of some of the things which were written through times on Wikipedia? What was the funniest entry that you can remember?
One of my favorite funny entries, and there are many, but there's an entry in English Wikipedia called Inherently Funny Words. And when someone first created this entry, it just was a magnet for people just coming in and putting in silly things. And then it was nominated for deletion. And then someone said, no, wait, actually, this is a valid concept. Many famous comedians, many famous humorists, theorists of humor have written about the fact that some words, by their sounds, are actually funnier than other words. And so now the article has great references, examples. We quote Seinfeld, we quote Krusty the Clown from The Simpsons, and so on. And so it's a funny, it's amusing to read because it has words like yogurt and badger. Yogurt. Okay, maybe it doesn't translate.
Did you ever get did you ever get threats for things which were written on Wikipedia?
Yeah, I mean, with 500 million readers every month, you do get a few whack jobs, but not so much, not so much. There's a few, we've called the FBI a few times, and I keep my home address very secret and things like that. But
can you share with us your home address? Justin?
Yeah, it's in London. It's as close as you get. You can come to my house, but I'll just drive you there at the blindfold.
Anything which create a political embarrassment or some political upheaval or.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a very classic thing that some politician gets caught editing Wikipedia, deleting things. That's a common story. In fact, a lot of good newspapers have become more internet savvy, and they actually know how to look for it. So The Guardian in the UK in particular, they've got a couple people there who are very, very good at trolling through the Wikipedia edit histories, looking for bad behavior so they can write a story about it.
I remember one, I will not mention the country, a certain country. It was country AAA is a landlocked country known for its horrible referees.
I'm not a football fan, so.
You don't know the country.
Don't know the country. I don't know the country. There was actually a funny thing in the Russian Wikipedia. When the Russian Wikipedia first started, this is early, probably 2001, maybe early 2002. I don't remember the exact date. But somebody came and set up the Russian Wikipedia, and they started writing a front page, and then it kind of died out. It didn't go anywhere. And about a year later, people heard more about Wikipedia, and a community came in and started editing Wikipedia. And they don't know who these elders were. I mean, it was there, and they just don't know who did this. But for that first year, on the front page of Russian Wikipedia, it said, Russia is the fatherland of elephants, which they have no idea what that means. It was there for a year, but now it's kind of in the Russian community. It's kind of their slogan. Russia is the fatherland of elephants.
You know what we say in Israel? We say that in Israel, the future is steady. The only thing which keeps changing is the past. To what extent it's true on Wikipedia?
That's good. That's good. Okay. I'm sorry, was the question?
Depends on the listener, It was a statement, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
Tell me, what is for Jimmy Wales in the next 15 years after such an immense success?
Well, I'm working on a lot of different things, so I'll just go through, in addition to Wikipedia, the three other things. So one is Wikia, the for-profit company, which hosts advertising-supported wikis, doing very well. The main places you might have seen it is if you watch really complicated TV shows like Game of Thrones. The Game of Thrones wiki is very popular. A lot of the gaming wikis, Grand Theft Auto wiki, very popular. That company's doing very well. According to Quantcast, it's in the top 20 in the US, and it's similar ranking around the world. I have very little to do with that these days. I'm a board member, but they're busy working, so I don't bother them. As long as just keep the growth going, I don't need to be involved. I am what I'm mainly working on lately is an MVNO, Mobile Virtual Network Operator. I told you about this in Switzerland.
I have to show you a certain graph, but after
I
the
see.
show.
I remember you showed me.
No, that's the old one.
That's the old one, the new one, yes. So the name of the company is the People's Operator, TPO. And the premise of the company is that 10% of your phone bill goes to the cause of your choice, so it's a very open platform. 25% of the profits go to charity, but there are no profits yet. We're a growing company. And our prices are, we beat the market. And so how can we afford to do all that? And the answer is we eliminate the marketing budget. So we have to spread virally, word of mouth, online. So it's taking advantage of a lot of the trends that we've seen about online viral growth. If you know, like Tom's Shoes is a shoe brand where you buy a pair of shoes and they donate a pair of shoes and people like to tell the story. So it's a platform where whatever cause you want to raise, you might have a strong community like Garage Geeks, and you might say, actually, one of the things you can do to support Garage Geeks is become a member. The other thing you can do is change your phone service, and we get 10% of your phone bill, and it's just another way you can help. So we have partnerships with causes who promote it. I'm building, personally, this is so much fun, I'm building the digital platform, so I've got a team of developers who I sit with every day, designing the whole social platform, which I think is going to cause a lot of noise when we release it. So that's a lot of fun. And then the last thing that I'm doing is just recently I was awarded a knowledge prize from the leader of Dubai, $500,000. But the leader of Dubai's track records on human rights and freedom of speech is quite poor. So I couldn't in good conscience take the money and spend it myself, but I also couldn't in good conscience give it back to him because he's the last person.
You say you are not Jewish. Are you sure about it?
And so what I decided to do is set up the Jimmy Wales Foundation for Freedom of Expression. Nice. This is the nice thing. Yes, thank you. When they contacted me about the Dan David Prize, the first thing I did is Google Mr. David because I said, oh dear, I mean, who, you know, and I learned he made his fortune by being the inventor of the photo booth. Yeah. Oh, that's a perfectly nice thing to do. I don't have to give the money back. No problems at all. Very ethical man.
Ariel, if you had any hopes, forget.
Yes, exactly. So, so anyway, so I set up the Jimmy Wales Foundation. I hired a human rights lawyer who happens to be Israeli, Orit, graduate of Hebrew University.
Orit, can you stand up?
Can you stand up here? She's living in London, and we're just getting organized. The concept, we only have $500,000, so it's not the Gates Foundation. I'm not the Google guy, I'm the Wikipedia guy, so the amount of money I can put into it is quite small. But the concept is, people often write to me around the world, because I do have a strong voice, and I write things, and I say things, and it's in the media. And so people write to me, and they say, oh, we have this problem here in Australia or somewhere. Can you help? Can you write something? Can you do something? Can you speak out on it? And in the past, I had no research staff, no ability to do anything about it. And so the idea is to set up a small foundation to help amplify my voice so that we can find cases. We're most interested in cases of digital expression, so bloggers who are being oppressed. Bloggers are routinely being arrested around the world, Azerbaijan and places like this. We want to find cases that aren't already... We're in a coalition right now for Raif Badawi from Saudi Arabia. We're working with a coalition of people. We'll do what we can to help there, but this case is already very famous. He's the one who's being lashed from time to time, and there are really a lot of demands to get him out. But I'm more interested in the cases that people forget about and trying to bring them onto the agenda to say, don't forget these college kids in Azerbaijan or wherever it might be. So I'm very excited and optimistic about it, and we're actually looking for people to help us. One of the things that we need is a strong internet presence. So if you want to help us build our website, get in touch, and we're happy to do that.
Do you want to give the email of Orit or yourself?
It doesn't matter. Just contact us. I'll forward the email. And she can read Hebrew, of course. She's Israeli.
But they cannot contact you if they don't know the email address.
Oh, okay. Well, my email address is very easy to find. It's actually kind of a joke. People say, oh, you're impossible to find. And so I don't know if you've ever seen this. LMGTFY.com stands for Let Me Google That For You. And you type in your query like Jimmy Wales' email address, and then it gives you a short link, and then you send it to someone, and when they type it in, it calls up Google, and it goes like this. Zzz, Jimmy Wales' email address. Zzz, click. There it is. So I'm easy to find.
Good.
But it's jimmywalesfoundation.org. The website's not open yet. No, I forget her email address. o.koppel, K-O-P-E-L, at jimmywalesfoundation.org.
So everybody can connect the
It's
Wikipedia.
easy. And I'm on Twitter, Facebook. I'm easy to find.
Two last questions. One, I see you in many internet conferences. Everybody likes to have you, and most of the people from the industry. If you have to give me the 5 names of the people in the industry that you appreciate the most.
That's a good one.
That's a very good one. So it
good
will
one.
create you 5 happy customers and 100,000.
I know, exactly. I'm doomed no matter how I answer this. One of the first who comes to mind is Marissa Meyer. She's taken on a very difficult job to turn around Google. Google's doing okay. Turn around Yahoo. But she's very, very smart, and she's a wonderful person, and she's very hard as nails. So.
And like you and he are the only guys who appeared in the Garage Geeks twice.
Okay. Yeah, great. I can say, it's not fair. Can I just put Larry and Sergey as one together?
Okay, good.
But then I leave out Eric, so it's Larry, Sergey, and Eric Schmidt of Google. I really appreciate them and the things they've done. I'm a big fan of Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's a really warm person who, if you can get Jeff to laugh, it's one of the best laughs in the world. He really is really amazingly into it.
Any people from China, Russia?
No, that's a difficult question. Reid Hoffman at LinkedIn is just a fantastic human being. And then last, I would have to say Yossi Vardi.
No, forget me. And the last question. I know that you have special relation and special affection to the Israeli Wikipedia community. Can you elaborate on it?
Well, it's always been a great, strong community. We've got a great group of people locally. There's some things that I've been really appreciative of about the community. They have a very strong Itzik. I don't know if Itzik is here. Itzik's not here, but he's been a friend for a long time, and he's done a lot of great communications work, and so that's really helped the local chapter, have a great positive visibility. But there's also little things. I hear about little projects with people within the community who are making a special effort to reach out and work with the Arabic Wikipedia community. These are the kinds of projects that, again, I think mutual understanding is the best way forward to peace, and I think this is an important thing, and I'm very happy when I see those kinds of efforts because, I think we all know the politicians and the various sort of ideologues around the world will always cause trouble, and then we geeks have to sort it out. So. That's my hope, anyway.
You know that while you are here, your friend Mr. Perez is in the UK right now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Okay.
He's an amazing man, actually. He's one of the most, for me, one of the most admirable people. I just saw him recently in the dinner we were in Davos, and he comes in, and of course he's 92 years old.
Go to Wikipedia.
He's relatively old, but if my mind is as sharp as his when I'm 92. I'll be much smarter than I am today. So he's a very impressive person.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Wales.
Thank you.
Don't go yet. Jimmy, we could continue it for the next 2 hours,
Great.
But let's give some chance to the people in the audience. We have 2 microphones. Anybody down there?
In the real garage, this is where they bring me a drink.
Yeah.
No, I was actually disappointed because I really loved the garage.
Yeah.
And they said, we're going to be in an auditorium. I said, okay. Great audience, great community anyway, but I missed the garage. Okay.
Go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
Ella Mantelon, Executive Director, MIT Enterprise Forum of Israel. A couple of months ago, I got a message from you asking me to donate something towards Wikipedia, and I gave a small donation. And then I saw this again and again. I felt as though you're yelling at me because you didn't seem to know that I had already given you something. But I also hear from a lot of American donors to Israeli causes that Israelis are really poor at donating. And I wanted to know whether this was the case. Do you have statistics of how Israelis are supporting Wikipedia? And is it a problem in general? I mean, are you suffocating or are you okay?
On a per capita basis.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't memorize all those statistics, so I don't know. I haven't heard that in particular about Israel, so I don't know. The statistics are available. We do have per capita. Oh.
No, I just want to ask, how many of you contributed to Wikipedia money in the past? Okay.
Yeah, so this is good.
No. You should say this is not enough.
This is not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah, it's good, but it's not enough. No, so two things. So one, when you donate, the banner is supposed to go away immediately. Also, you're only supposed to see the banner once, and if you don't click on it, it should just go away anyway. If you do see it more than once and you click the little X, it should go away. If none of those things happen, that's a bug, and we don't want that to happen.
Jimmy, you just need to know that the first question in every Garage Geeks meetup is a technical support question. So you're over that.
That's
now
perfect.
We can talk
We're
about
over
more
that.
serious
We're
things.
over that, yeah. But Americans do give the most. That's the largest amount. And that's just a cultural things with Americans. They give a lot to charity, so.
Yeah, we had here Doron Weber from the Sloan Foundation. I think they are a big supporter of you.
Yes. Doron is a great supporter.
Hi, Jimmy. I'm Mel Rosenberg. I'm unemployed because of Yossi Vardi. And my question is, some people call Wikipedia the new
Why
Woodstock.
don't you stand, Mel? Nobody see you.
My pants are going to, okay.
You can take off your pants if they disturb you.
Some people, including me, call Wikipedia the new Woodstock. Would you comment?
The new Woodstock. That's an interesting, sort of a drunken orgy in a field. There's a lot of mud, but it's slung at each other, not wallowed around. In a certain sense, yeah, it's an iconic moment for a generation, although it's 15 years in the making, but it is kind of defining. You know, it's something interesting to think about. I don't know about that analogy, but something interesting to think about is Wikipedia, because it's now 14 years old. So if you think of an 18-year-old who's just entering university, Wikipedia has existed from the time they were learning to read. And certainly in the last 5 years or so, when they were really of the age to turn to the internet to do homework or to learn about pop stars or whatever they're interested in, it was large and ubiquitous. So the generation that's entering university today has never known a world without Wikipedia. It's their first thought when they want to know something. So for us, it's a bit of a heavy responsibility, right? We're part of the infrastructure of the world. We have to get it right because people depend on it.
Hi. My name is, hi, over here. I'll stand up. My name is Oded Sharon. You can look me up on Wikipedia. I see you're very popular on the Quora website with all the questions. There's a lot of, like a very big Jimmy Wales topic. I sometimes read some of those. I wonder how that came to be and what's the community of people asking you questions behind, and are there any specific very funny questions you answered?
Yeah. So Quora is a Q&A site where I'm active. People love to ask me questions on there. I actually have more followers on Quora than I do on Twitter, which is kind of interesting. I've been on Twitter for quite a long time, and it's much, much bigger, obviously. For me, the medium of Quora is much better, though. If you ask me something on Twitter, maybe you can tell from me talking tonight, I always have more than 140 characters to say. I like to write, sort of explain myself, so it's a nice medium for me. It's a geeky community, so that's why I'm not famous, but I'm internet famous, so people love it. The thing that's interesting about Quora, to me, is if you notice the user base is very strongly Indian these days, and I think that's just interesting to see how, I don't know why that's happened, but it has happened, so it's become enormously popular in India. So that kind of affects the questions. I don't know, there's all kinds of different questions. People ask personal questions, they ask factual questions and things like this. And I just try to answer just like a normal person. Then they answer questions like, is Jimmy Wales really writing these answers or is it his PR staff? I'm like,
It's a robot.
Really, it's a robot, of course. It's a very small Perl script. So, anyway, yeah. No, I like Quora. It's a fun website.
Jimmy, first of all,
Stand up and present
Hi,
yourself.
Jimmy. Eliyahu Gal-Or from Moshav Modi'in. You probably know me from Quora too. I think I wrote to you. Anyway, first of all, welcome and make it an habit, keep the habit of coming here. I have a question, very simple. Question is this, since Wikipedia is open, assuming that somebody that is not so much my friend enters in my name and says, Eliyahu Gal-Or's mother was a cut-rate sex therapist, aka Sister of Mercy, and I don't know it. I mean, is there a moderation that says, let's write Eliyahu and ask him if it's true before we put it on Wikipedia? How am I going to know? What I'm saying is if somebody puts a derogatory information on somebody else, does somebody else get warned since it's easy to find before it comes up? Or we're still on the first stages when it wouldn't happen?
Okay. There's a slight echo here, so it's hard to hear everything, but I think I
understand.
get the basics.
Yeah.
So Wikipedia, we have very strong rules about biographies, particularly biographies of living people. And derogatory information should be removed immediately. If anyone sees even just negative information without a source, our rule is it should be removed immediately. And anything that is a negative piece of information, we really want a really good, solid source. If someone comes in and does it the first time, we give them a warning. If they persist, then we can block their IP number. We take different measures to try to stop it. We can also semi-protect or protect an article if there's ongoing trouble to make it harder for people to participate there. So there's a lot of different measures that we take to try to control it. And then obviously anybody can email us and say, hey, there's a real problem. You can also go to the talk page and talk about it, but sometimes if someone is the victim of a cyberbully, it's uncomfortable to go to the talk page. So you can email us, and we have a group of people who quietly work to deal with the problem. So it's a normal part of our work, but it has to be dealt with. And I think we do it's not perfect, but we do a better job than most places. If somebody posts a really nasty video about you on YouTube, good luck trying to get it taken down. It might take a very long time, or in a blog or something like that. At Wikipedia, we tend to be very fast with these things because we're not trying to be a wide open free speech platform. We're an encyclopedia, so we want to have reliable information.
Hello. My name is Jenny Abramov, and I would like to ask if Wikipedia would have born today, which challenges of creating the community would you face?
If Wikipedia were born today?
Yes.
I don't know. It's hard to imagine because it's hard to imagine how what would everything be like if Wikipedia didn't exist until now. And someone would have created something probably very similar or something. But I think the challenges that you would face, one of the challenges that we face now actually is with the rise of mobile. So reading Wikipedia is a very good experience on mobile. If you go to the mobile website or you go to our app and you read, no problem. So you're out with your friend and you hear something, you say, oh, I want to look this person up. No problem. If you want to edit from a mobile phone, this is always going to be difficult. Even if we have a really good client, really good app, it's a small thing, it's just not so good. So it's a challenge for us because if you're reading, if you're reading on your desktop and you see an error, you're tempted to click and edit and make a change and fix it. If you're on your mobile and you see a problem, what are you going to do? It's kind of harder to participate. And this is particularly sharp problem as we're launching. So if you say starting Wikipedia today, well, we are starting Wikipedia today in a certain sense in Zulu language, for example, where we only have a very small number of entries, but for the first time, millions of people will be coming online who can read this language, but they can't contribute. And so that's a challenge, thinking about how do we overcome that challenge. So that's one of the things that I think of.
Hey, Jimmy. Thanks for coming to Israel, first of all.
Thank you.
My question is, how do you think that people are going to be consuming information in 10 years from now?
How do I think?
How do you think people are going to consume their information in 10 years from now?
Consuming information.
They will take it by pills, no?
By pills. Yes, injections, perhaps. Well, I think, so So one of the problems I always have, I always tell people I'm a carpenter, not an architect. And so I get asked these deep guru questions about the future of the internet, but if I knew the answer, I would start building it now. And so I just answer with a bit of humility that I don't have a looking glass into the future. But the trends that I see are mobile and tablets. They're very convenient. People are using them more and more. So that's a way of consuming information. I don't think we're going to see there's not going to be anything radically different in terms of, sometimes you'll see people thinking, oh, in the future, this is a very visual generation, so they'll only watch YouTube videos and no one will read information. I don't think that's true at all. When I meet young people, they love Wikipedia. They read it all the time. So human beings will still be human beings. And so, consuming information will involve, yes, watching video, listening to audio books, reading, doing educational apps and things like that. In what balance and in what measure and what kinds of things, that's always a new thing. But, I think it'll be similar to today. Keep in mind, though, I'm a person who has missed a great many massive internet trends or tech trends. I remember when the iPad first came out, I just said, it's completely useless. Like, why would you have that? I already have a phone, right? And I can do things on my phone, and I already have a laptop.
This thing doesn't have keyboard.
And it doesn't have, what do I need,
I still ask this question.
Well, then I bought an iPad, and I'm like, what a genius idea. I didn't know about it. So, what do I know? That's it. What do I know?
You should go and read in Wikipedia the future trends.
Hello, hi. My name is Orit Rapaport. I have a comment and a question. My comment is that I think about Wikipedia, I think about it as like the largest social experiment ever that has proven beyond any doubt that passion brings perfection. It's not about the money, the rewards, the recognition. It's just about the passion. So it's amazing.
At least there is one person who appreciates what you are doing in the audience.
Yes, good.
And now my question is, I can only assume that when you came up with the idea of Wikipedia, it probably sounded pretty crazy. And I'm really curious to hear, how did you get it going back then when didn't have a community to start with? So.
Yeah, so just the quick basic story is that before Wikipedia, I had a project called Newpedia. Same vision, free encyclopedia, free licensing, so open source philosophy and so on. But I didn't know about the wiki editing concept, and basically I hired a PhD in philosophy to help organize it, and we put into place a very complex 7-stage review process to get anything published. He made the argument, which was correct given what we knew at the time, but ended up being incorrect because of what we didn't know, that before it could be accepted because it came from volunteers on the internet, our process had to be more rigorous than a traditional encyclopedia. And I was like, okay, that's plausible, right? If it comes to why would anybody trust something written by random people on the internet? Turns out that argument was deeply flawed, but it did foreshadow the problems with trust that Wikipedia has had over the years. Well, this failed, and the time when I knew it was going to fail, I had been working on a PhD in finance, and I published a paper on option pricing theory, so Black-Scholes. The title of the paper was on the pricing of index options when all the underlying assets follow a stochastic diffusion. That was back when I was smart. And so I published this paper.
If you were Jewish, your mother would have been very proud of you for such a title, I can assure you.
Yeah, it reminds me.
Because she wouldn't understand a single word.
Well, this is the old joke from Davos. Google schmoogle must finish PhD. So this is Sergey's mother. So basically, I sat down. I thought, okay, so then Robert Merton won the Nobel Prize in Economics for his work in option pricing theory, and I was very familiar with the work. I'd read all of his academic papers. My published work was in his tradition. And I said, oh, great, I'll just write a short biography. And it was like a massive writer's block. I'd been out of academia for a few years, and I realized they were going to take my draft and send it to the most prestigious finance professors they could find to review it, and I was going to get feedback, comments back, and it felt like grad school. It was stressful. It was like I have to turn in a paper. And that was when I realized this won't work. Like, this is too hard. It's too intimidating to participate. What I wanted to be able to do, which of course you could do then in the Wikipedia world, I wanted to be able to write, Robert Merton won the Nobel Prize in Economics for his work in option pricing theory. Click and hit save. And then, okay, it's not very good, but it's true. And now other people can come and add a little more and add a little more. And maybe I meet some other people who also know about the field, and we can discuss it and we can work together. And it doesn't feel like turning in homework and getting a grade back. So that was one of the things. So because of that first work, so Nupedia was a failure in one sense, but it was a success in another sense, that we had like 5,000 people had entered their email address on the website as being interested in participating. We had probably 200 people on the mailing list who were discussing how to create an encyclopedia. So we had a core community who already believed in this vision of a free encyclopedia for everyone, but we just didn't have the tools, or we didn't know how to do it yet. And so that core community then was there. So when we opened the wiki, they came in and they said, okay, we can start working. And we got more work done in 2 weeks than we had done in 2 years. The other thing to remember is we didn't have a lot of skeptics or naysayers who said, oh, this is impossible, simply because we were all mostly geeks from the open source world, so we already believed in the general concept, and no one else even knew what we were doing or cared. I mean, it would have been a dream for anybody to know what we were working on. We had nobody paying any attention, so we could just work in our own community and make loads of mistakes, and nobody really minded. You know, in the early days, even the front page of Wikipedia was unlocked, which led to some giant penis pictures from time to time. So eventually said, okay, we have to lock the front page. And so we were able to stumble and rumble and fail many times, but in a quiet way because nobody was paying attention. We were again, it's a genuine community. We were a bunch of friends trying to do something.
How long it took before the inflection point?
Well, it started to double. The traffic was doubling every 3 to 4 months, so after a little bit. But even so, you know, if you start doubling, it's only after about 2 years when you've doubled that many times when it starts to get kind of, a little stressful, because like, okay, now we need to buy more servers and things like that. There was a moment of when there was, unfortunately, someone had gone in Wikipedia and written about a famous journalist that he had briefly been suspected of having something to do with the Kennedy assassination. He had nothing to do with it. Nobody ever suspected him of having to do with it. He was a friend of the Kennedy family. A guy had put it in. He had made it up. It was a local journalist. He had made it up and bet his friend, and he put it in Wikipedia. And then according to him, he won the bet or whatever, but he forgot to go back and change it. So it sat there. And we think from the traffic stats, not many people ever saw it, but a friend of his saw it, and he's an older guy, and he called me up and he said, oh, there's this terrible thing about me. You know, we had it fixed in 10 minutes time. It was fine. I thought, no, that was terrible, but, you know, whatever, it's solved. Then he wrote this really scathing editorial in USA Today newspaper where he was on the editorial board saying Wikipedia was dangerous and a threat to freedom of speech, because if we were so irresponsible, it might encourage Congress to roll back the First Amendment or something. It was quite an outlandish and vigorous argument. And then, bam, man, a huge amount of press. They brought me on CNN to yell at me, and, you know, everything bad happened. And our traffic tripled in about 3 weeks. So we didn't like the story, but it was the first time that we really were brought into the public consciousness, and not in a good way, but in a way that I will say that the downside is it set off this sort of idea that is now beginning to fade out some, but is Wikipedia reliable? Is it some crazy internet thing? Now, because of a lot of hard work, people say, okay, yeah. And also just a lot of understanding. People say, oh, yeah, you know, sometimes Wikipedia, people vandalize, something bad's in there, but they fix it, and, you know, we have a better understanding of it. But, you know, the fact that it was controversial actually led to a lot of ongoing news coverage and discussion. And so we ended up in a position through no genius PR strategy of having a lot of buzz. I actually think that another company that actually I think has a disastrous PR strategy, Uber, but they've actually benefited in a way. Like, Uber is in the news all the time about some controversy or something. And yeah, it's negative for their brand in a lot of ways, but it also means, you know, everybody's heard of Uber everywhere in the world. And so
Did you have a chance to see the amazing speech of Monica Lewinsky at last TED?
I haven't seen it. I heard it was amazing. Yeah.
Before the next question, Jimmy, over here.
This is
Yes.
the last question, and
No. We have one more, and then we'll finish, and people will come up front. But I'm just curious, what is the server hosting cost for Wikipedia?
Server hosting costs for Wikipedia are much lower than you would think. So all of our financial reports...
I can think about a pretty low number. So.
You can think of what?
About a pretty low number, but please answer.
Pretty low number. So if you look in our financial reports, which are all published online, and our budgets and everything, we're very, very transparent. You'll get an accurate number. For me, you'll get an approximation because I haven't looked at it recently, but it's on the order of 2 to 3 million. It's a little bit hard to calculate because there's server costs, bandwidth costs. Some bandwidth is donated in kind, etc. You know, so the overall, like if you had to pay for everything, it would be slightly different, but it's not that much. And part of the reason is almost everyone who visits Wikipedia is logged out. And because we don't run ads and we don't do anything dynamic, the pages cache really well. And so we pre-render the pages. And so if you go right now, if everybody in this room goes and clicks on Queen Victoria, you're all going to get the same exact page, not customized for you at all. And so it's been pre-rendered, and so it's just held in memory, and we just blast it out to you. So we don't need, so and this is very much in contrast to like Facebook, where every single page view has to be calculated from the database. And so they require hundreds of thousands of servers or millions, I have no idea. Similarly with Google, most of what you do at Google, they have to calculate as soon as you type it. For us, we've already pre-rendered it. So the server piece of it is actually pretty small. But this is actually one of the reasons some of the features we think about for the website, we have to consider, you can imagine things that we might do that could actually dramatically increase our server and hosting costs because we would start calculating something for every page, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Jimmy, can I call you James?
You could, but it wouldn't be correct.
Okay.
I am from Sweet Home, Alabama, and my actual name is Jimmy.
Jimmy. Okay, so
on
I
my
will
birth
stick to
certificate.
Jimmy.
It's very strange.
Tell me, how come that this very important thing called video on the internet never made real inroads into Wikipedia?
So yeah, I mean, video, we do have some video, but there's not a lot of demand for video from the community. Video is very hard to collaborate on. So if someone comes and films something, and you come back and you say, well, actually, it would have been better had the lighting been changed or the camera was at a different angle. It's too late to do much about it. And so video is just a one-time moment. I do think that in the future, we will have a lot more archive video. But because copyright extension, and this is a whole thing I could get, copyright is so long these days, and there's so few exceptions for all kinds of things that are in the public interest, that it's difficult for us to have. So I would love to have, you go and you read about Winston Churchill, and why not have 3 or 4 videos at the bottom where you can see some of his TV appearances and things. They're locked up under copyright. And this is Churchill, whose things would have been recorded by the BBC, who's actually quite friendly and quite open to this kind of idea, but they're kind of constrained about they've got rights holders and everything else. So that's one of the reasons, is that there's not a lot of historic video that's actually available to us.
I want to ask you, pardon?
GLAM, yes, so GLAM, you must be from a chapter? Yes, so one of the things that we do, we work with galleries, libraries, and museums because we need to get access to archival materials and things like this, and it's been a very strong philosophical shift. We used to get nasty letters from museums. I remember one I got from the National Portrait Gallery in the UK saying, we've checked our records and we see this image in Wikipedia, and we've checked our records and we don't see any permission given to you to have this image of a painting that was 400 years old, which is clearly not under copyright and so forth. And so I remember answering this one in particular saying, well, first of all, it's clearly not under copyright, it's 400 years old. And second of all, let me quote you the mission statement of your organization, which is about spreading culture to the people. You shouldn't be bothering us about this. That philosophy where the museums were like aggressive about saying, don't take our material and put it on Wikipedia, has really shifted. And now they say, actually, we realize we have a mission to educate the public. Wikipedia is the first port of call. They know from a moral point of view, it's a right thing to do, but also from a business point of view, they understand, like, if you've got a museum and nobody's ever heard of the things in your museum, why would they ever come visit you? You need to educate the public, and then you create the demand. People say, oh, there's this artist I read about in Wikipedia, and I just found out, and this is even small museums, I just found out the main museum is actually just 300 miles from me. I'm going to drive and go see these paintings that I've read about, whereas you might not have in the past. So GLAM, we call, I actually thought that was an industry term, and I found out we made it up. Liam made it up.
Okay, Jimmy, last question. I will take the privilege to ask you. When you started Wikipedia, you were not the Jimmy Wales. You were a Jimmy Wales, even not James Wales. Jimmy Wales. And you have done something which was and still is enormous altruistic. You gave the rights, you gave the right to copy it, you gave the right to everybody to access it, you gave the right to anybody to express his view as long as he's doing it in a palatable way without becoming dramatic. You know, one of the, and I don't know if we are allowed to discuss the behind the work, the behind the screen, the work of the committee, but you really gave the world an amazing gift. What motivated a young guy who was an option trader and curious about the internet to give such a wonderful gift to the world?
So this is where I'm a very strange person. And one of the things I would say is, so the term altruism means giving up your own values for the sake of others. But for me, there's nothing more selfish in the good sense of the term than building the world you want to live in. And that's what I've always tried to do.
Jimmy Wales. You are wonderful. You are really wonderful.
Thank you.
And now Jimmy will avail himself for a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes to one-on-one, very quick questions.